conference will now be recorded.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Thank you all for coming tonight. The mayor is helping out with preparations with the Forest Service and helping getting their crews fed. So that is where he's got 175 breakfast, lunch, and dinners to prepare. So that is where he is out this evening. My name is Lisa Roberts. I'm on the town council, and so I'll be, the mayor asked me to conduct the meeting this evening. It's July 8th, 7 o'clock. Our first order is minutes of the June meeting.
Move to approve. Second.
I do have one.
Point of order, Commissioner Roberts.
Yes.
Did you establish a quorum?
Yes, we do have a quorum, I believe so. Commissioner Hardy is out, so.
Okay.
So we have 5 members and we have 4 here.
All right.
So, yes.
Get that on the record just before
Okay.
we started.
Okay. We do have, so Mayor, if you would note that we do have a quorum with 4 commissioners present. Only discussion is just on the page 2 on the public works, and it's just a typo that we need a $sign in front of the ARPA funds. That's the only thing that I noticed. Any discussion? Okay, hearing none. Call the vote, Jason?
Aye.
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 Aye. Motion passes. Okay. And then our next agenda item, excuse me, is the school project introduction. So
No,
I see.
Public comment.
Oh, sorry.
Read your sheet.
Yep, I'm sorry. Now we have, pardon me. Now we have public comment on non-agenda items. Is there any public comment on non-agenda items?
Is the budget available to the public?
It's currently on our website, not for this next fiscal year, I think.
Right, the current budget.
Yeah, current budget is on
Okay.
let me see what tab is.
I think it's like on the left-hand side down. Well, positive, I think.
And so if you go to the tab departments, it's at you have to scroll down. It's the last item under budget.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Do we have any folks online that have public comment on non-agenda items? Sometimes it takes a second for people to unmute themselves.
There is a chat. Did you see it?
I would, if it's possible, just to leave the chat out, and if you have a public comment, please do not use the chat box. Does anyone have a public comment on a non-agenda item? Okay. Hearing none, now we will move to the school project introduction. Superintendent Casey Carasna is here.
Where do I stand?
Wherever you, just right here, that's great.
Yeah, thanks everybody. Just introduce myself. Superintendent of the school, Casey Carasna. Started my 6th year at Ennis schools. Previously superintendent of Eastern Montana and a teacher. I grew up farm ranch in Eastern Montana. And now we're here, 3 girls in the school. junior, seventh grader, sixth grader. So it's just a little bit about me. Live south of town, Shiny Mountain 1. And just want to introduce our school project to you today that's being talked about, is being discussed. I just kind of want to spell it out, kind of where we're at, where we started, and where we're at today. So when I moved here in 2016, I moved here for a lot of reasons, and it's because of the school and the community proximity. And in this last 5 or 6 years, I've seen substantial changes in our community and surrounding areas. And also come in with a very progressive school board and tasked me with starting the discussion of a strategic plan for our school district, kind of a vision how we want to see our school in the future. And that's a lot of what we base our decisions off of, is a strategic plan, and that was involved community members, teachers, students at the time, 2016, 17, I believe. And it's been kind of a living, working document how we make our decisions. So the last several months, last fall, we started a discussion on back up. The strategic plan talks about keeping our class sizes small, which we've done a nice job. We got two classes at each grade level, making our class sizes anywhere between 12 to 17 kids. Enhancing learning, it's easier on our teachers and our kids learn better, we feel. So we're very proud of that. The thing that's created is we're filling up our classroom spaces, and we're starting to run out of classroom spaces. So we started talking about last October, just started getting the feelers out. The board tasked me with sending out a request for qualifications to have an architectural firm help us with the planning and design on what it could look like in the future, based off of growth, site safety and security, and then planning down the road on growth. So they tasked me with that, so we sent the request for qualifications out, had several architectural firms apply. We narrowed it down, we interviewed. This is all public knowledge on board agendas. Community had the opportunity to partake. We narrowed it down, had 45 architects out of Bozeman, and their project manager is Allie in the back. She's here to talk to some technical things if there's questions. So in the request for qualifications, we looked at our current facility right now. Our K-8 building was built in 2012. Excellent building. We want to keep that building. So we're primarily talking about our high school facility right now, built in 1971. So in the request for qualification, we talked about our building is not ADA accessible, which it is not at all. It's not up to code in several areas. There's a lot of safety concerns that we have in the school, me primarily as a superintendent, and I'll kind of get into more detail on what that looks like. And so we started seeing our student growth over the last 10 years. It hasn't increased significantly. I know in 2016 when I got here, we were at plus 40 on kids, and it's kind of plateaued out. Last year we ended, I think it was 382 or 384. Right now in our current system, we're at 400 kids, and it's growing. We get phone calls every day. So we take a look at that. So the request for qualifications spelled those things out, and let's talk about our site safety right now. If you've been in our school, you'll see where our library is located. Our K-12 library is smack dab in the middle of our high school. All of our little kids come through the elementary, through the junior high, through the high school to have a library. It's a nice space. It's got a good look to it, a good feeling to it, but it's not secure. There's no walls around it. There's no doors. There's no locks. There's no nothing. So that's a big concern of mine. Is the security of our little kids when they're in the library. The other issue is with site safety on that. If you're familiar with our library, there's like a mezzanine that we actually have a classroom in because we don't have classroom spaces. So our world language class is being taught in there. We want to grow that program more in the future, but we have no space for them. Another issue we have is lack of square footage. We have around 700 square feet in our classrooms in our high school. Our core classrooms recommended is 900 to 1,000, if I remember right. So not all of our classrooms are crowded there, but you might have 26, 28 kids in 700 square feet. That's not a good learning environment. So we looked at that and we put that request to how we're going to improve that space. The other thing is, some of you I wasn't here pre-1994, but that was an open concept. There was no walls in that school. So the walls right now are basically false walls. The acoustics are not very good, meaning the kid can sit on one side of the wall and have a conversation with the kid on the other side of the wall primarily. We had a local contractor come in a few years ago and blow insulation in administrative offices because I couldn't have a conversation in my office without somebody out in the student lounge or staff lounge hearing what I was talking about. So those are just some of the things. Another area of deficiency we have right now is there's no natural light in our current science room. That space is really small. It's a nice science lab. It's not very big. Our music room has no natural light. It's a big enough space, but it's nice to have some sunlight once in a while, some windows. So we look at that and go, how can we improve that space? So the other one is when we built the 2 classrooms on the Voc Tech, we didn't plan that one of those was going to be an art room. And because of the overflow in our main school, we were short a classroom. So we put art out there, and it's not a sufficient space. It's narrow, it's long, and that program has gained popularity in the last couple of years, and we've had to turn kids away from getting into that class because there's not enough room. And also, if you're familiar with our campus, kids, this is a big concern of mine as an administrator based off of what goes on in this country on a daily basis. And we all know what we're talking about when we listen to the news. There's always some kind of a tragedy at school because of site security and safety. So that's a big issue for me, is kids back and forth all day between the buildings. And, kids aren't paying attention when they go from building to building. They're distracted. They might be on their cell phone. They might be on their earphones. And we don't really supervise that because we can't. But kids are back and forth every day. The doors are timed, they're locked. Some kids get locked out, they're banging on windows to get in. They come back through the high school to get in. Sally's got to let them in through the cage. So it's a nuisance, and it's not safe in our opinion. And if the space is not adequate over there either. So those are some of the issues that we're dealing with. So we tasked 45 architecture. This is what can you help us with? How can we plan for this? From this. So 45 developed several committees, or asked me to form several committees made up of staff, which was kind of a broad variety of staff from kindergarten or elementary to high school. We had student leaders in our high school. We had community members on it. We had board members on it, admin, maintenance, you name it, the school board. And we had several meetings based off of what the deficiencies were, how could this look? So a questionnaire was sent out to the public, parents, community, and we got good feedback according to Allie here. She said probably some of the best feedback or most feedback they've ever gotten in any district they worked in, so it was good news. And there was consensus throughout that we need to keep our site one spot, okay? Because we talked about, we have 50 acres, we know that. It's not developed, utilities would be expensive out there. There's not really an established highway road out there. But the will of the feedback was to keep our kids together, keep it Ennis schools, keep everybody together. We want the interaction. And that's what we tasked 45 with. They got the information and they started coming together with maybe some ideas for the committees to consider. And another thing, some are like, well, why don't we just build the K-12 district out there? I think it'd be really irresponsible to do that and abandon a brand new school or elementary. So we want to keep that elementary, and we want to consider moving forward and building something new for the future of our kids. And we want to give our kids the best. Obviously, I want the best for my kids and everybody else's kids in here. I know a lot of you parents. So as far as the thing is, and I know this is the talking point, is how do we keep our campus connected? Okay, how do we keep it one building, one entrance on each end without kids having to go across the street? I understand that street is not real busy during the day. It's blocked off, but you see people going in and out of the gates all day. I've had several conversations with people that just park in our parking lot. I don't know who the hell they are. I got to go say, who are you and why are you here? You just don't know. I mean, that's the age we live in. So if a building was connected, I think it'd be a lot safer for our kids. I think our drop-off and pickup is a disaster right now, especially the high school. If people come in, you turn around. It's not safe. We tried to mend that a few years ago. We sent out letters, we coned it off, and people are creatures of habit. They're going to take the path of least resistance, and in the elementary as well. I know the administrative staff, their teachers cone it off, they rope it off, they got their vests on, because when little kids are walking across, it's not, I mean, you got these big pickups, you can't even see a kid. And luckily, we have staff out there managing, but it's not ideal. So that's just a little bit of what I had just to introduce it. So we want to look at site safety, security, current growth, and anticipated growth. So as far as the utilities go, if we close that street off, I'm not the expert on that, but it's been brought to my attention that our current systems should be able to handle that. I don't know the nuts and bolts of that. And as far as the technical stuff goes, I know Allie's probably knows quite a bit. So that's all I have. So I don't know, Allie, if you want to speak to it, or if anybody's got any questions. I don't know how you handle question and answer with something being introduced. So
Yeah.
yes, Maria.
Casey, are there any meetings at the schools or your meetings scheduled that the public is welcome to come and
Yeah, there's a
join
planning.
and learn more?
Yeah, there's a planning meeting coming up on the 12th, and then there's a school board meeting that night at 5:30.
Okay.
The board's going to talk about this quite a bit, just the concept that we're looking at. And I just want to let you know that we had several concepts to choose from. The planning committee narrowed it down to having it all connected. There was a plan to level maybe the high school where it's at now and building a new school down on the football field. But I think since there's a fire lane, you can't connect those. We didn't want to get rid of our beautiful football field either, and we want to build it connected. The other one was to renovate what we have. Basically, after the engineers looked at it, it's got a lot of problems. I mean, you don't see the problems, but electrical, a lot of that stuff is not up to code, and it would cost a lot of money to do so. But yeah, sorry, there is meetings coming up on Monday at, I'm trying to remember, 2:30 on Monday, just some time to do. So, yep. Okay.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for your time tonight. As Casey said, we're introducing the project today. I just kind of want to get everyone up to speed. One thing that we are looking at doing, and you've probably heard, is potentially abandoning a portion of Charles. It would be about half of a block, right in front of the Mustang now, up until that alleyway just north of that. So the reason why we're looking at doing this is to help with the site safety of traffic within the site. Right now, parents, high schoolers, everyone's kind of going everywhere. With this approach, our goal is to have a parent area, turn around, drop off in front of the high school, junior high, then continue on to the elementary school, drop off there as well. And then the high school would kind of be cordoned off by the building and by the street being blocked off. This would still allow for fire access around the entire building, but we created a much safer environment where people, like the elementary school kids, have to cross the street every day to get to the art building in Botech. Botech art and district people are often going between the two buildings as well, and we just want to make this safer. We talked with Kelly and went over kind of the utilities of that. He's, at least per our conversation, didn't see any concerns at the time. I don't know if you've found anything else more since.
No, as far as water and sewer in the portion that you want to shut down, there are no water and sewer lines in that portion.
Okay. Yeah, so our water and sewer would continue in its current route, and that is adequately sized. So, I mean, if anyone has any technical questions about the process, about how we got here, the different options, I'd be happy to answer them.
How close are you guys to a final drawing to go out to bid?
Long
time, 2 years, 3 years?
A year and a half.
Okay.
Because we need to pass the bond first, and then we will need to be designing it. So right now we call this preliminary design, Then after the bond passes, then we move into schematic and go through and create our design documents or construction bid documents in there. One thing that we do like to do is, per state requirements for publicly bid projects is we open that up to anyone to vote. Any local contractors are welcome to put in a bid. And that's something that we definitely encourage.
Can I stop for just a moment? Could I get your name for the record, please?
Kirk, Kirkcardoso.
Okay. And Allie, would you mind for the record just reintroducing yourself?
My name is Ali Vasarella, ALI-VASARELLA. I'm the project manager for this project with 45 Park.
Thank you.
I guess, and the question to the bond, so obviously you don't need a final design to go to bond.
So our process in getting that to bond is we've been doing budget or cost estimates up until now. So we get our cost estimate in place and then we design to that budget once it's passed. So we get it to a point where we know that we can build for that much, and that we can accomplish all the goals and everything that we promise to the voters.
Okay.
So that's part of the process, and then after that, the full design goes in where we pick the exact systems, routing, lay out every single space and corner, nook and crannies.
Gotcha. Okay, and then I guess, and what ballot do you want this to be on?
Well, yeah, that's the goal is, looking at November, obviously, that's the goal. It could be out later, but, with costs and things, I mean, it's we're ready to go. I mean, the board will decide that decision on Monday and when they want to do this.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, the board has just got the information you guys have got.
Okay.
Basically, so Monday would be a big meeting for them to decide which direction they want to go. But the goal is November.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And do you have, I know we got a copy in our packet, but do you have any pictures or anything, or there have been any public meetings with, big pictures and?
So our meeting on Monday is going to be to go over our next step. So at our last meeting, the planning committee chose and reviewed 3 different options.
Okay.
Then they chose a direction to move forward with. That information from that meeting, it was called Design Workshop 3, is on the school's website under the bond enrollment information. So we have that information is all uploaded and it says this is the decision we went with and why we went with it, why we didn't choose these others. And so that's all documented.
Okay.
There's also, if anyone has lots of extra time, there is a program facility document that goes through each of our steps, that has the questionnaire responses, that has, what we're planning on, what problems we're identifying and trying to address, and all of that information. So it's a very long document, but it has a lot of great information into how we got here.
Is there a traffic study done in that?
No, so that would be something that we would want to do at our next iteration.
Okay.
After the bond, is we would figure out exactly what the best solutions are. What we have now will work.
Okay.
But that would be the best, is having that traffic study done.
Okay. Yeah, because that's it's a pretty big process to do, and it's a big decision for us, and we absolutely want to work with the school on getting a facility that's safe and meets our community needs. But I think there is it's not a question that we can answer tonight. So
Right. Yep, this is just information.
And introducing it to us and stuff like that. And I think it would be great if we could have a representative, whether it be Kelly or someone from town staff or someone from town council on one of the building committee things, because I know we've reached out. We were going through a master planning process as well as far as that, so it's good for agencies to share information and coordinate with each other. So, and I know the hospitals look into the future and stuff like that, so it almost seems like all of our agencies all together need to come and share information and strategic plans and that kind of stuff too.
That
So,
sounds like a great idea.
yeah. So,
I've got one other question on this. With the, Kirk Cardoso, with the increasing cost of materials, how can we secure a number for a bond if material costs are constantly fluctuating? What safeguards would we have in place for that number?
Okay, so I just worked on a $25 million bond, doing the 3/4 K-12 addition and renovation. So that project, we went to bid in March of this year. It was absolute chaos. There was no certainty. We had a $22 million budget. And what we did was we took pieces that could be pulled out that weren't absolutely necessary, like it could happen later, and we created what's called an alternate bid. So those basically had a cost associated with that exact work. And so we had 14 of these, just a huge amount of alternate bids that could happen if the money allowed, if the priority, if it was worth it, if the district decided to move forward with that. Our bids came in at 19 million. And we were actually able to accomplish every single one of those alternate bids.
Good deal.
But we have that safeguard in place just in case. So that's one of the things that we do is just to make sure that it is the best decision for the community, and the district knows how much this piece costs. Is it worth it?
Gotcha, thank you.
So I'm wondering about the abandoning of the portion of Charles Street. It's concerning and very interesting. It's concerning because why would we want to abandon a city street? We don't have very many in this town, and it's interesting because I'd actually like to do that at my house. So, I'm just kidding. Is that, so I would like to know how you guys came to the decision that that was the only option. I understand your issues and I do agree with them. A split campus is definitely a hard issue, but I mean, just off the top of my head, why couldn't you do a sky bridge or a tunnel maybe, or something?
Or certain hours.
Or, well, there's already gates,
Well,
the gates are
gates,
closed
like
all the time
extended
when the
hours.
school's going, but I still, you can get back there and drive around. I mean, we could, I don't know, there, it seems like there's gotta be a different option than just abandoning a street,
Yeah.
or even a
So
portion of a street.
we had 3 options that were on the site. One was as Casey said, was taking over the football field and moving that to the 50-acre field.
Right, yeah, I see all I'm just wondering, when you came up with this, like, why just abandon the street? Why isn't there another
To get
option?
that square footage on that side of the street without dividing the building, I mean, it needed to go somewhere.
But this, so it wasn't even thought about or brought up maybe?
That is often very difficult to achieve. You need fire access underneath it, so it has to be very high. There's all these different things if you're really having public go under it. I've worked on 3 school projects that have the local municipality has abandoned the street for safety reasons. We've had this dream of doing sky bridges before, but it's never turned out to be economically feasible or feasible in terms of getting these emergency vehicles and public vehicles and what happens when someone hits it.
Okay.
The liability of doing, if someone hits it and there's people in it, there's a lot of things that have kept us from doing that.
So it's costly.
It is, and just a big liability for the district.
And what about a tunnel? There's no way we could do a tunnel?
So anything's a possibility.
Right.
If you throw enough money at it. So that is a possibility. I guess it's not one that we've looked into too much. One thing, even with the basement area that we have now, there's concerns about getting egress. Building underground often is a security issue and a building code issue.
Right.
Because you need to make sure that you have exits.
I understand there's issues, and I know this can all be done,
Yeah, we haven't looked at that option
But-
very much.
you guys just decided to put the burden on the city to abandon the street. I mean, it doesn't make sense to me. That's my only point.
Yeah, I mean, we have been successful in doing this in other communities for the site safety reasons. And I think that in this case, it does create a safe site doing that as well. You know,
That I agree.
that portion not acceptable.
The safety issue, I totally agree with.
I know you're having a hard time sometimes getting help at the school. And the bigger school is going to require more teachers. So where do you expect them to live if they come here? Because they sure as heck can't afford any rentals, or, you know, like they look at the bond issue and they say, you know, it's only so much per $100,000 home. There are no $100,000 homes in Ennis. You know, it just goes higher and higher.
Right, that number can be directly multiplied of the property values.
Yeah, but I mean, you got so many people here living on fixed incomes, and we're talking, we have to bring our sewer and water thing up to state level. That's going to raise taxes, and there's other things, and you're asking the school district, to come up with $50 to $55 million. That's nothing to sneeze at. And if you can't get the teachers and they don't have a place to live, what do you do then?
Okay, so that was one thing that the planning committee was also very concerned about. So one of our main project goals was making sure that there was a plan for teacher housing. So the school has purchased properties around the area. There's also the 50-acre site, which could be another site potential for this. If construction prices do go down, what our plan is that we will be able to do an alternate for housing to help with that burden and be able to get more teachers that can live here.
Thank you.
Yes. Sorry, Casey did a great job. I'm Karen Ketchu, I'm the school board member. Casey did a great job addressing the safety aspects of this project. I just want to throw in why I'm such a proponent of working toward the school. It's as we grow, we have the responsibility of providing an excellent learning environment for our kids, and that's in our strategic plan. And growth does mean more teachers, but it also means more opportunities for our kids. And so planning to that end is the main reason that this is a worthy goal here. Just wanted to throw that in there.
This gentleman here has a question.
I was just going to respond to Jason. I had the opportunity to meet with Casey and the architect yesterday, and you were talking about why we're wanting to close that. And this, I mean, because when I saw the number, I'll be honest with you, it scared the hell out of me. But when I saw what the opportunity was, John, and what we have to do, I mean, we don't have enough room. I mean, we can't just bury our head in the sand and not do this. But what he explained to me about that road, have you been in the school?
Yeah.
So you've been in the elementary and then you've been in the admin offices, right?
Correct, yeah.
They're blind as bats. I mean, if somebody come into that school, they have no idea who's coming into that school, all right? So this alludes to the safety factor and just paying attention to stuff. So if you look at your map, and I don't think it's got it on there basically, but that if you in that road coming from this direction, it's basically a drop-off point. So it's going to be a circle drive in there, right, where you can go and turn the car around. Mm-hmm. But right there would be the admin building for the facility. So you're going to be those administrators are going to be able to look down that road, and then the back of that road will also be open to where they're seeing where the school buses come in. So they'll have visibility of who's coming from every direction in that school. And to me, that's a big deal, to have our staff,
right,
and our administrators know who's coming and going,
So in this, and just what, or do you go ahead?
Isn't the plan at some point to start moving stuff to the 50-acre site?
Not, we're building this based off of all the information planning committees. This is going to be built for the future to set us up pretty good. And it'll be like a 2-story junior high school to keep us on one site. And I guess if there's ever an anomaly of growth, we do have that 50 acres to look back on, so. But right now, wasn't an option right now, that's from the feedback that we got.
What would be the option of having the elementary and junior high at the present location and the high school out at the bus barn?
Yeah, why are
area?
you guys so against that?
Well, that's the feedback we got from all the questionnaires and the planning, staff, student, planning committee, and people in the public. You keep there. So to answer that question, if we have two separate buildings, that means two different food service. And we share a lot of our elementary and junior high teachers. They'd have to split their time between both buildings, John, which we would have to hire more people to staff, and we don't know what our budgets are looking down the road. We're set up pretty good right now, staff-wise, so that was a big concern of sharing staff. We'd have to have new food service, so that's coming reason, and to keep our kids together based off the feedback we got. So yeah.
And I would, that's what I feel about the survey too, you know, I like that, you know, the campus is one in that, and yeah, I just think it starts a conversation. I've got a couple different copies, so I don't know which one is most current, but it says Bill suggests relocating fields to the 50-acre building site.
So the latest one is that one that's on the top right there.
I'm just looking at the ones with the green checks.
That's the one.
Yeah, this one has a green check,
So
but
But they wanted
the
to-
one-
got this one
The
here.
one that has a green block that kind of goes
That's
across
here.
it.
Yeah.
With the utilities shown on it as well.
Sure.
That's kind of the one
Yeah.
that we're looking forward to. And then also to address the expansion on this site, that being able to cross that street actually sets us up. We could double the high school and junior high right there on the site.
Yeah.
And then
Except
expand.
there's an alley
Do you
there.
is there a plan B in case we don't get the street?
They would expand in this direction.
Yeah, there's an alley that goes this way.
Right, but so
Yeah, gotcha.
that high school could.
Gotcha. Okay. I guess, and I guess the other question that I have is just in the traffic study, just how it impacts town traffic, because it's already a bottleneck and kind of an issue there of moving people off of Highway 287. And so maybe just more information on that traffic study as well. Because I know that there was a traffic study done in 2011 for safe routes to school that was done, and there was recommendations in there that were never followed as far as safer drop off and pick up and all of that kind of stuff. Or pursuit, I shouldn't say follow, pursuit on that. And then I guess I'm glad to hear that you're working towards ADA compliance and universal access, but maybe I guess I'm just wondering if the school district is also then committed to those safe routes to school, in addition to, there's a lot of parking, but on nice days, I definitely see the bike rack is full. And so are there going to be, coming from all directions, are there going to be facilities for kids to walk, ride their bikes, that type of stuff too? And to encourage maybe, I guess that's
and I'm not sure how much
school
the
board.
district can go outside of their bounds to do that.
Well, I think just maybe partnering in different scenarios and stuff like that. And then based on this one, is the new VOTEC building being torn down for parking?
The new VOTEC building is being torn down, so there isn't another having to cross the street.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah. Okay. And then, and I guess with the parking and everything like that too, is that and it looks to be on this design, is that it's not just a sea of asphalt, that there is traffic direction and stuff like that, so people aren't coming across the parking lot and stuff like that, so.
Yep, and one minimum thing that we would do is just make sure that there's a left turn lane queuing, so people don't get backed up and frustrated getting onto the highway here. If they're turning right, they'll just be able to turn right.
Okay. Have you talked with MDT about that?
No, well, and it would be on our property, and then again, that would be part of that traffic study.
Gotcha, yeah, so I just think the traffic study is probably the biggest component to that as to how that affects not only the school site, but also in-town traffic. So thanks for, thanks for coming in and informing us of the plans. And I guess Monday is the meeting, or is there another meeting to present this to the public, or is that at that meeting on Monday?
So we will, pending approval on Monday, also, and then, if any rework after that, but we are planning on, when school opens, during the open house, having some public meetings there for, in preparation of the bond, creating bond information that can be shared, both paper, mailer, flyer, digital, so different resources to inform the public and get their opinions as well.
Well, and I guess also maybe just there just needs to be more conversation between town council and the school board directly on stuff like that, because we certainly want to support the school, but maybe there is a way that if we're giving something else, we gain something else somewhere else. So in some negotiations on that part too. So
You're talking land?
I don't know. Land, access to the bathrooms, one of our biggest thing is, those bathrooms down on Chowning Street, that you have, one of the things that we hear all the time is we need another public access to bathrooms. So maybe there's a partnership that could be worked out there, or a land swap in some other areas as well too. So, and I don't know if there is anything on James's end of what it would actually, what the public process looks like for the town to abandon a street.
Well,
so, because there is a public process to that, so.
Yeah, and I imagine you guys are all fully familiar with the Montana Code provision that deals with the abandonment. So I printed this out, it's for anybody who wants to know. It's in Title 7, Chapter 14, Section 4114. And basically, it would require a petition signed by 75% of the landowners on the entire street. And then that petition would be brought to the town commissioners, and they would vote on it after the public hearing process. And, so that's essentially the way that would work.
So it'd have to be passed by the town commission.
After a petition in a public hearing.
Right, it would come before you. So, the law, the way it reads is, where the street or alley is to be closed for school purposes, the council may discontinue the street or alley upon a petition signed by 75% of the lot owners on the whole street or alley to be closed. And I haven't, looked into cases that may have, looked into this further, but I think that
sounds like they have a couple up there too.
Yeah, and we do have a list of all the property owners within 200 feet of all of these properties up here. So we have that ready to go. And so now that we know that that is part of the process,
But technically speaking, they were talking about the alley being, Charles Street being closed for the school. That's really not a law. It's actually working in favoritism to the school to help out. But you're really not supposed to close the street down for the school. You're not supposed to.
Do you mean the traffic
Yeah.
as it currently is, or
As it is right
street?
now, they're really not supposed to be closing that down.
Oh, the current situation.
What it needs, you mean?
Well, that's something obviously.
Has to be discussed.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of things that, good partnerships make good solutions. And so we can move on to that. So thank you for coming. Are there any other questions? Are there any questions?
I have a question. Hi, I'm Tanya Cubell. What is that street used for currently? If it's closed off, what would be the benefit?
The rest of the night, it's through traffic for everybody that lives that direction.
It's
Passes
closed.
And during the summer.
And there's no other street that they could use?
It's a grid system. It's a grid system.
And they're opening it after the school hours, is that correct?
Yeah.
So we are getting access, just not when kids are.
Yes.
That's what I thought.
Is there anyone online calling in that would like to make any comments? Or have any questions?
Brittany, have you talked to Chris? Can you hear the audio?
You can hear you. Yeah, okay. Okay, so thank you very much for all school board staff and consultants and school board members for being here on that. It's really great information. Our next agenda item is zoning board adjustment volunteer members. Ginger, you did have a list of names that, oh, sorry, I'll let you catch up.
Nope, we're good. I'm sorry if I murder any names. So Maria Montulo has offered, Tony Regulia,
Okay.
John Heckler, Patricia Catterall, and Christian Peterson.
Okay, wait, I missed, oh. Okay, that's great. We got 5. Patricia, can you spell the last name?
Haederle.
Okay, great.
Fantastic. For those that are here tonight, I copied had Brittany copy information.
Yes.
On the zoning board of adjustments, and I've got copies for you guys as well.
Yeah, so if you want to look at it, it's in our section, it's in our zoning code. It's available online, then we'll give you a hard copy here. Zoning, it's 11-1-9, and it deals with all the duties and everything like that. In there, it does say that we need to appoint them by resolution. So we will need to do a resolution, and then we will also need, for the initial appointment, we need to decide on terms. So for the initial appointment, 1 seat is for 1 year, 2 seats are for 2 years, and 2 seats are for 3 years. So we're gonna have to maybe talk with you folks and see who's in for the long haul and who just wants a short stint. So, but thank you very much for, I think it's also appropriate that we, well, A, have a resolution, and then, B, yeah, no, have you sign that you're, committing to the term, or however that may be. So, thank you very much. Yes.
Are we also looking into some education possibilities?
That's just it. I contacted the Montana League of Montana League of Cities and Towns. Sorry. Montana League of Cities and Towns and the Montana Local Government Center at MSU because zoning board of adjustment deals with variances, and there are some pretty legal ramifications of variances have to meet a hardship and there's statute for the state and probably national precedents of what court cases what determines a hardship. So.
Is it the intent of the commission to appoint these members tonight?
No, they have to be, they should be appointed by resolution is what for. Yeah, so vacancies on the zoning board of adjustment shall be filled by resolution of the town commission for an unexpired term of the member affected. So we have to do it by.
Yes.
So
it also has to be broken down to who's going to be 1 term, 2 terms, or 3 terms.
There's a few details to be sussed out, but I think we can do that.
Is that the next month's agenda again? Or?
Yes. So, and I think that is where.
Our work session myself.
It will need to be pre-written.
Yes, it needs, a resolution is pre-written, and then we'll have to talk to these folks and to see who wants to be where in what kind of term.
And then were there only 5 that volunteered, or how were the 5 picked? Just wondering.
I think
there was 5 that volunteered.
Okay, so it was just 5. Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So the education for this board, do you have any target for when you're going to provide it?
I reached out to them, and I'm hoping to hear back soon, and that it would be relatively soon. And I don't know if it's, when you join the tree board, they give you a little packet of information and say, here you go, you're on the tree board. I don't know if it's that, or if it's a little more in-depth through the Montana League of Cities and Towns, or it could be just like a webinar, it could be a pamphlet, something along those lines, so.
Will you wait for the resolution to do the training? Or will you?
As soon as I have the information from the Montana League of Cities and Towns, I will pass it on. I included Ginger in that email, so as soon as we have it, we will pass it on along to the folks.
James?
Yes, thank you. When I was the deputy county attorney working for Gallatin County, I came up with a guide to zoning practice for the Board of Adjustment. And there were actually 3 boards of adjustment in Gallatin County. And so I printed this out. It's a draft. I think it's pretty thorough. Provide you guys with a great introduction. So if anybody wants a copy, I'll run. Mr. Pearson is it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And it's great to see that you volunteered for this. Anybody else would like a copy?
I would say, go ahead and make
Okay,
mine,
I will.
if you would.
Sure.
Thank you.
And then if anybody has any questions, you can contact me at any time, really.
So the target date to do the resolutions.
Somebody called me at midnight tonight. He said it.
Or the August meeting.
Yes. Okay. Now that reading that it has to be done, yeah, Blake just told me I was in charge yesterday, so, or the meeting tonight, that it has to be done by resolution. So unless there is another special meeting that gets scheduled in between that time frame, but our target date would be that to get ample time to get that. So thank you to those folks for giving their time on that issue. We appreciate it. Are there any more questions on that agenda item? Any more comments? Anybody online? Okay, moving on to the next agenda item is on-call planning services for town. I requested the mayor put this on the agenda because I think with what we are seeing in regards to big projects in our community, whether it be school, hospital, our master planning process, other projects, is that we need, and we do not have a licensed planner on staff, and we're relying heavily on the county's interlocal agreement and the graciousness of the planner, Alex Vogel, is that maybe in this budget cycle is that we have a on-call planner that can help us. Maybe it's more text amendments or get us a foundation that we can build from on our zoning, because we're the only municipality in the county with zoning, but it is imperfect. And to outline that process for not only staff, for them to be more easy, but also anyone who's building a fence or whatever, so that the process is clearly lined out, and for the public to have notice too, is to, if, someone's building a commercial project, they have these deadlines to meet, and us as a town, we have deadlines to meet to make sure that their process is smooth, but also to answer some of these bigger questions. Like, I'm sure the folks at 45 Architecture are fantastic and working with the school, but I'd like to have a component on our side to, talk shop with you guys and as to what is the best thing. So that is all I kind of wanted to look at. I know the town of Manhattan, they contract out, there's several small communities that do contract out for planning services.
I think we should, because we have so much to fix and so much to do. And big projects coming.
Lisa, at this time, any projection of cost for a year?
Yeah, so when I spoke with I spoke with Wayne Freeman from Cushing Terrell, and then also the town of Manhattan on what they do. They contract with Randy Carpenter. I think at somewhere between $30,000 to $50,000 for the year. The goal would be to get our foundation and then wean off of that, is so that we get a good set of, best practices, code that is current, and fits our community, and then we then take it over. So hopefully it would only be for a year-ish, or two, to get us to that point where everything is in line.
Thank you.
Now I know where to go with it. Yeah, so, and right now, we're seeing that is one of the biggest issues. That's why we're here a lot of the time, is planning and development and stuff like that, and to have a professional doing that, I'm not a planning professional, and it puts a lot on our staff too. So we can have the support staff here, but then if we can then grow with that, so it seems to
Have you ever thought about just hiring a city manager and paying that guy that just, knows what he's
Yeah,
doing?
that could be but a city manager wouldn't be a planner. Those are two
different things.
two separate things.
That's
So
basically the mayor.
yeah, so, yeah, right now, it's, the mayor fills those shoes, and we could look at, budget and hiring a city manager. I think it's the local government review that happens every so many years. Every 10 years, do they determine that, or we could add that position?
They can make that recommendation.
Gotcha.
But if they wanted to make it law in our charter,
Yeah.
It would have to go to a vote.
Okay.
When is that 10-year cycle?
It just happened, oh my gosh,
17?
I'm not good.
3 years ago?
No, it was a little bit longer than that. It was
I was
before
gonna say 4 to 5 years.
I think it was in 2000, either 15 or 16. That's when it was, because maybe I just joined the council when they were just getting their recommendations.
15.
Yeah, it makes more sense.
I would have to look to be sure, but it won't hit that cycle again for another 4 or 5 years.
Yeah.
I know we're close.
Yeah. So, but we could, look at staffing, and could we add a city manager position?
I'd really say I'd have to do some research.
Yeah. And what that.
I mean, it's just that we're getting big enough to where, all of us come from the same, we're all working shifts, and we just get involved because we
exactly
want to be involved in our community, but none of us have the knowledge that some of these managers do. And if we need a manager, maybe it's time to start looking at it to give us,
Yeah, that very well could be. And then looking at, and one of the things is that the town of Ennis city limits are a lot smaller than people think. And so
Well, they are, but excuse me for cutting you off, but what I heard from Alex, because I had a discussion with him, and believe me, my memory ain't good, but just what I thought I understood from him saying that the council, the city, right, has taken on more than they can chew.
Yeah.
Basically, when you're going up Centennial, he says they don't even manage that. They got no business doing it. They can't handle it. And that's all I'm saying is, if we can figure out somebody that can do that, because.
Absolutely. Well, and those types of things would be under a planner position.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's so a city manager would basically manage the employees.
Oh.
And do the mayor's job.
Yeah, so the mayor, under our charter, the mayor is in charge of employees and department heads. So a city manager would basically be a general manager for the time. Yeah, so we need a planner.
I think we're at the point that we need both.
Yeah.
I'm not disagreeing with that. I brought it up last year that maybe a city manager, because even when you get a mayor, doesn't mean they have 40 hours or 20 hours a week.
No.
Like the rest of us, we all work. It doesn't mean we have tons of time. So I think that we're at the point that we need both, just money.
Yeah. And that's what I was
think a
getting at.
planner is first, because we have so much going on.
No, the school is first.
But that's part of the planning thing. That's part of the planning. So my point of saying Ennis is smaller than you think is the tax base.
Yeah.
And so to hire a manager.
Our income.
we don't have money.
Yeah.
So that adds another full-time, really professional position, which would be a substantial amount of money. So we just have to figure that out. That's what that is. So, but it's definitely something the town should look at. I mean, that's the reason that I'm conducting the meeting at the mayor's, because he's at his other job. Yes, Maria.
So circling back to your call for planning services for the town.
Yes.
What's the process? Would you develop a RFP, request for proposal?
Yeah, we could do an RFP, a request for proposals. If it's under a certain amount of money, we can just hire somebody, right?
You don't know.
If it's under 150.
50.
Oh, if it's under $50,000.
Yeah.
So we could do a bid process and just see where they're at. And we also need to come up with a laundry list of what their responsibilities would be.
You develop what you want them to do.
There's also an idea of hiring with tasks, like zoning ordinances, instead of hiring them full-time as a position, hire out just the tasks.
Right, here's your.
Because we don't have the money to
That's what we
maybe,
need help with.
Yeah.
or if we put it to bid, we don't know who we'll get. Whereas we're already working with people right now. Do we want to use those people and hire task
If
lead?
you put it to bid, you still
get to choose.
Yeah,
So,
but
yeah. And it could be something, we
But
could.
everybody has to know what your scope of work is. So that
Absolutely. So
they're
right now, I would
responding.
say it would be our zoning code and our subdivision regulations, and whether it does more, we're gonna be talking about a text amendment, whether it's more text amendments or it's finding
And if we add X, Y, or Z, it's so much per hour or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. And to really build, because to build the foundation, our forms need to be reworked, stuff like that. And so I guess we would need to sit down and see what that scope of work is. So yes, so can we put that on next month's agenda?
Moving on.
Is there any more questions on that? Anyone from online? Questions? Comments? Yes.
What do you want to accomplish, I guess? Do you want to be making a decision?
I would like to,
do we have to wait for budget to make a decision?
Blake
Or can we start?
pretty much instructed me to try and work this into the budget, see where we
Yeah.
can.
I think we have to.
yeah, I would like to have maybe an RFP worked out that maybe we, or come up with a scope of work by next meeting.
So you're gonna be setting a work session, would you like to include that scope of work at the work session, or?
If we can, with as much as we have on there, which I think it should take priority, so maybe we should do that at the work session.
Work session?
Yeah, okay, if we have. So if anyone has any comments on what the scope of work should be.
When is the work session and is it open to the public?
It's not set just yet, it's later on our agenda, we're gonna come up with a date.
Okay.
And yes, it is open to the public. All right, so, there are no more questions or comments on that. We have the American Rescue Plan, the ARPA funding. That is the funding for capital improvements, water, sewer, and Mr. Elster, take the floor.
Okay. So, I made just to start with where we're at, I made a formal request to the county for money. I went up there with water in mind. We definitely need a new well. We have fire hydrants that need replaced, repaired, and some valving that needs to be done. If there's breaks in certain parts of town, you have to shut off a large part of the town to repair that. So some valving, the fire hydrants, and a new well was my main concern. I went up there asking for $200,000, and after comparing all the other requests, they gave us $225,000.
No, that's great.
So that was pretty good.
Kelly, have you looked at the 50 acres that the school owns? Is there any way of a well out there at all?
I'm sorry, say that again.
The 50 acres that the school has? Is that too far for a well?
That would, in drilling a new well, one of the main problems we have is there cannot be a building around the well site. 150 feet is the dimension, so you need a 300 radius for a well, and there's not a lot of sites like that around for to drill a well. One of the places we're looking at, we have an old reservoir up on Antelope Meadows. The school, that 50 acres, that might be a bargaining chip. The down Lions Club Park is an option, but the problem down there is you have to be 1,000 or 900 feet away from a lagoon. And when you draw the radius from the lagoon and the Lions Club Park, it doesn't leave very much room. So finding the location is going to be the toughest part. The second part is, we went through this about 10 years ago and purchased ground from the rodeo association, and that it turned out to be a bust. We invested about 180,000, and the well only produced 100 gallons a minute. We need to find something that'll produce 300-400 gallons a minute. So the reason it's so important is the growing that is going down, and the developers like the school isn't going to impact us as much as, say, the hospital will. The school, some too, of course, but other subdivisions that are coming into town, and as the North 40 keeps expanding, the capacity reports showed that we were okay, but DEQ is highly recommending that we have a third well. So that's why I'm making that a priority. Because if one of these wells were to go down right now, especially with the heat, we'd have to have people only use necessary water until we got it repaired, which usually takes 4 or 5 days. So that's why I pushed for the water, the valving, and fire hydrants. Anyway, that worked out good. We got the 225,000 more than I asked for. Under House Bill 632, which is in bucket B, we would need to apply for it, but we have until January 1st of 23 to do that. But we would probably want to make it part of this project. And that dollar amount, which is comes up with the formula used with gas tax money anyway, that amount is $214,133. And that is any of this American Rescue Plan Act, any of this money can be used for water and sewer, but under the A bucket, what they call the A bucket, there are provisions for other things such as I talked with Blake and Ginger today, possibly some planning money. Unfortunately, it can't be used for salary. It has to be used for projects, and it should be COVID relief related. So that makes that money a little tougher to get to. Under bucket A, there is a treasury fund that I talked about at the last meeting that's $253,000. So if, say, we were to give planning or figure out a way to give planning through projects, I said 49,000 because it has to be under 50 for those type of projects. That would still give water $204,000, which comes to a total of $643,000. We should be able to make some significant water improvements with that amount of money. The other thing, like I said, water and sewer is easy, but I would expect some of the, I'm just speaking for Public Works, I would expect some of the other departments probably to try and tap into some of that money too. But it's definitely easier for me because water and sewer fits all of their plans. I know a little bit more about it than I did last month, but I still don't know it all. Yeah, but I try and answer any questions if anybody has any. So that is the plan. Like I said, the other department heads, especially when we get closer into budgeting, may have other ideas, and we'll see what happens there. So that's really all I have on ARPA.
Okay. And so, and who would help determine the site for a new well? What is that process like?
Say that again, please.
Who would help determine the best site for a well?
Oh, well, that would be our first step, and actually I've started that step. We would need a hydrogeological study done, which would happen through an engineering firm. And apparently there's a real good guy out of Bozeman that the Great West uses. So that would be where it would start. You know, I don't know the process. Of course, they go through DNRC records and look at different wells. You know, nobody can look down in the ground any further than I can, I don't think. But there is a process.
Okay.
So yeah, that's how it would start with that study. And I can't even really give you a cost on that, but I would guess probably $30,000 range.
Okay.
And then the bigger thing is acquiring the ground.
Yeah.
Well, they can't study anything until they know where they can put that well.
Yeah. Okay.
I had a question on that. So I know you said you went there, obviously, like looking for water specifically for the money for that, but can that money be used, like what could we possibly put that money towards, like infrastructure wise and stuff otherwise? Because I know when you gave the DEQ report and stuff the past couple times, it said as of right now, we were able for 2,000 people or so capacity on the well. Okay.
Well, actually 2,000 on the sewer. I think it was a little less on the water.
Okay. So I was just wondering, and just throwing it out there, I mean, if that was the case, I mean, was there something that we could use this money for that was more pertinent, or is that well sort of our top priority in our waters?
Of course, be the top priority.
Well, of course, yeah.
It's my priority, but and the way this relief plan was set up was to make it easy for water and sewer to get the money.
Okay.
Where the other projects, like you're talking about, there's certainly a lot of different projects out there, and I got a website that you can visit. But the biggest thing with those other projects is they do have to show some type of COVID relief.
Okay.
Yeah, but yeah, definitely it can actually be used for housing. Anyway, I need to share that website so people can actually see what Plan A, because that's where that money had come out. Bucket B is only water and sewer and stormwater.
Okay, thank you.
Any more questions on the ARPA funding? Anyone online? Questions on that? Zoning ordinance text amendments. Here's yours. Sorry, Ginger, when I asked you, when you asked should I print this, I didn't realize how long it was.
This is the short one.
Okay.
Yeah, I didn't realize it was.
With Brittany or? Yeah,
Oh,
that was complete.
Okay.
This one's complete.
Okay.
We shortened up
Okay.
something else.
The school packet.
So, on the Monday of last month, the 28th, there was a planning board meeting to discuss the text amendment for the town. There were 3 items. There was components, which are, one was to establish an actual conditional use permit criteria. Number 2 was to essentially recognize the T&D short company Cummings and delete that section. And then 3 was the amend the table for specifications on yard height setback stuff. It's there's this funky table in our code, and I can pull it up for you here, to tell you what section it is. And this table it's really hard to read, but
1134.
1134, thanks, Ginger. And so anyway, this table has footnote 3 that refers back to the T&D when it's talking about setbacks and lot area usage for dwelling unit and street frontage and height. And so the planning board, when I listened to their meeting, they, Alex, talked to some folks and he plugged in some numbers there. But the planning board ultimately decided that they are recommend number 1 and 2, and they would like us within the next 90 days to have a workshop specifically on that table and those values. Specifically, some of the side setbacks that were recommended didn't make sense,
No.
for the CCNR district, because it's not only for new construction, but it's also for redevelopment. So if someone wanted to they had recommended a 10-foot setback, side setback.
But downtown where there's existing.
But downtown, or he has 0 side setback.
setback.
So if something was to burn down downtown or someone wanted to redevelop, those lots have such a small footprint to begin with. If you did 10 feet on either side, you'd be left with a buildable space of like 15 feet. And so, basically they, in our, what he was talking about on components 1 and 2, we really can't adopt those until this is done because of the way that this has the footnote 3 would be referring to people. If we delete a section, it would be referencing them to a deleted section, which we can't do in the code. So I think that would also be part of our workshop. And I don't know if Alex planned on being here or wanting to be here for that or not. So we
I think in the email it said he could.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll just.
I'm happy to present.
To be sure.
Yeah. So we can just, I don't know if we want to make that one specific one or try to work in one work session and try to get as much done as we can, or we separate it into 2.
How long do you think this will take?
I don't think it would take that long, but for some of those values that he had recommended, like, I see where he was coming from on local commercial residential, but he has a required street frontage of 70 feet. Currently, none of those lots are only 50 feet wide. So you can't require someone that has a property. Yeah. So I don't think and we were actually looking.
That's why we told them not to set.
Yeah, because I think it's a larger discussion that we need to have. So on some of those values, some of the side setbacks, we were also looking at reducing height as well as front setbacks as well, because some of those front setbacks are pretty substantial where that doesn't need to be the case in some, so it would lessen the burden on our residents.
I think this kind of needs to be done in conjunction with also doing a map amendment so that we can.
Yeah, I think when he noticed for the planning board meeting, it was specifically on here, and then we could do map amendment as well. But that's more of a bigger process.
That would help us make more sense of like the areas that we don't want any side setback, for instance.
Yeah.
Like we just name that one specific area a certain thing and then do something different for this other area that doesn't,
Yeah, it's almost like a total zoning overhaul, which will require a planner. So that is where we're at. So
he said we need to do something within 90 days.
That was their planning board's recommendation.
We can adopt what the first 2 components and then work on.
You can't do 1 and 2 without.
You can't do 1 and 2 without 3, because if you adopt deleting the traditional neighborhood section, if you look at there's a footnote when you look at this board. So if we delete the traditional neighborhood section, this footnote then there is nothing that references to in this, in our current table.
Right.
So they need to be done in conjunction with each other.
Yeah, I know, we need to. So are we gonna have a work meeting or?
Yeah, I think that was their recommendation, is to do it within 90 days, so, and to make it a priority. Yep, and then it moves right into our next agenda item, to set a work session, not only for the text amendment. And I'm sorry, was there any public comment or questions on that agenda item? Okay, hearing none, we move to set for work session on business licenses, street bonds, and discussion of private wells in town limits. So I think on that, the business licenses, there was a revised version, and we had talked about it a couple months ago about revising the version, and then fees wouldn't take until next July. So, but if we can set the foundation and amend our business licenses, I think that also needs to encompass short-term rentals as well. And I think a part of that, and since Brittany's there, what I would like to see is some kind of inventory of short-term rentals. If we can figure that out, I don't know if Brittany has the time in her schedule, or between Brittany and Susie, or is to kind of, whether it be scour online and maybe some physical inspections within town and walk around, so you kind of know, like, and so we can get, I'm not looking for an exact number, but just kind of a ballpark of how many short-term rentals we actually have. And so moving on that. The street bond issue is in regards to new development and when they cut into the street to hook up to water and sewer. Currently, that bond does not cover the cost. So they'll put up, what we're seeing is that there's some still roads that need to be repaired because they're willing to forfeit the bond because it doesn't come close to covering the cost of actually repaving the street.
So can't you send them a bill?
That's what the bond is supposed to be. I think we can certainly.
I don't know if you can really say that is what the bond's for. I think you'd find it hard to look through any minutes where that bond was ever put in the license, the building permit.
Okay.
I think somebody just slapped it in there. So I think that could be argued pretty good. I think the business license or the building permit needs to be revised. And the bond shouldn't even be, there shouldn't be a street bond in there. It should just be the developer, and anybody knows that you tear up the street, you gotta fix it. Because we just given them bait out there by putting a $500 number.
Okay.
The streets that are tore up on the North 40 now, $500 wouldn't touch any.
Yeah.
Actually, $5,000 would be closer.
Yeah.
So do we set a higher bond so they finish the work, or do we?
The developer just needs to fix the road and fix it properly. We could do it, maybe we could follow, I'm sorry.
Put a time limit on it.
And a time limit too, yeah, so it's not tore up for.
Can you also make it so they can't get new development permits if their stuff's not fixed and finished on the first development?
That could be because I have to sign the permit, and if I don't want to sign it because I'm not happy with previous work, then that may be an option. It would be better if we had I was told that Bozeman has a real good plan, and we maybe should look at their ordinance and follow it. Because we don't just want to fix, we want to fix right.
Yeah.
And it's not just the street in the North 40, it's curbing too.
Yeah.
Bozeman has a pretty detailed plan. I looked into it the other day when we were chatting about it, and they've got pretty strict rules and requirements and.
Yeah, so that would just be an ordinance that would cover it and not have anything to do with the building permit.
Yeah, because there are areas in town that I know that they were fixed and they're still, you're
They're not.
constantly patching them.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
that
there's
is
a
just,
difference between fixing them right.
yeah, exactly. Okay. So that's what that will cover.
Can we have that information at the work session?
It sounds like Brittany already has the,
Yeah, I just found it on a quick Google search. They've got it pretty available on their website, so I can
I can look it up too,
save it and send it.
or email it to me or something.
Yeah.
Two public hearings and 2 readings.
Is it something we should work
Yeah.
This
on
work
with
session's
all the
gonna be this
development
month.
and everything?
Yeah.
This month, the work session's going to be.
Depending on everyone's schedule, so I don't know. Yeah, once you go, check. Yeah, so a new ordinance would be 2 reading, a public hearing and 2 readings.
Well, the first public hearing would be your
First reading, and then
and the second one, second reading is second public hearing, and you can adopt on that second.
Okay. And I guess my question, and now that Kelly stepped out, is how many are delinquent, or not delinquent, but how many are outstanding and fixing the road?
You know what, I gave him a list here, and
Pretty common.
There's a substantial list.
Okay.
That haven't been fixed properly or adequately.
Okay. Okay.
And that's something too that we can get for you guys, numbers.
Okay, fantastic.
I guess my question is, if you're gonna set this work session, right now you've got 5 things on it, and I see a lot of discussion in this. You might want to.
Too much, I know.
2.
Into 2.
Okay. Do we want to do, what's the date of our next meeting? Does it fall later in the month?
August.
So do we want to do one in July and one at the beginning of August?
Are we gonna do budget work sessions in August?
Later?
Probably, again, part of it's I'm gonna push some numbers out to you guys, but until our revenues come in from the state and county.
But taxes don't go down, so it'll be the same, we'll just have a buffer.
Yeah, it's gonna be similar, but.
So typically towards the end of August, is that when we do the budget? We do, but.
As soon as we can do mid-August or what? Whatever.
Okay. Would they be, would it be prudent to have one of the, you said mid-August, or if we put something together, a work session, if we have time to go over preliminary budget numbers,
like expenditure numbers to begin with?
Yeah.
To take a look at?
Okay.
The week before.
Okay. So, and then the other discussion item was
Monday works out.
is drilling of new private wells in town.
I thought that was gone.
Oh, wait, did we need to set a work session?
That's part of that work session.
Oh.
There. So.
Oh.
I didn't know you could do private wells. I thought the old ones were grandfathered in.
I just talked to him.
They were grandfathered in.
I just talked to him on of Hugel that I was gonna pick up for my business, and he said he was allowed to drill one. And he looked up that he's allowed to drill one, so.
It's within a certain distance of our current wells, but I think within our capacity and our issue with needing a backup well, it's probably best that, no other municipality, Virginia City doesn't allow it. I don't think Sheridan allows, Sheridan doesn't allow it.
Yeah, that would have to be something that would have to be set up by ordinance, so.
Yeah. So we can maybe look at ordinances of other communities and bring that to the work session.
Well, and I wondered that, what would be the benefit of allowing them? Because I didn't even know that they could drill private wells either.
Yeah.
If they're drawing out of our city's aquifer that's already low and stuff, why would we allow that anyways?
Exactly. So.
I thought it was already.
Yeah. So that would be on the more. So what are you guys' calendar? You got any hot dates that we gotta work around, John?
Took a hot date every night.
All right.
Sure, Tim.
How about June 19th or July 19th?
What day of the week is it?
Monday
Why didn't she give me Monday?
or the 20th? Tuesday.
What day's that?
What is your? Oh, we can't do that day.
Okay.
It's Ginger's birthday.
Oh.
The 19th or the 20th?
The 28th. Take your pick.
Both. It's my birthday month too.
Is it actually, I don't care.
Is it the first or the 19th or the 20th?
What date do you have to go?
Which is the 20th.
Okay. Yeah, so,
I'm taking a wild guess.
let's go to the 19th.
The 19th of July.
Yes. 19th.
Is that for the agenda items or is that a budget work session? I lost.
No, it's
Sorry,
not session
there's
for the
just-
agenda items.
Okay,
No
thank you.
budget yet.
Okay.
So, are you gonna?
So, yeah, let's put the most important things on the first one.
So, yeah, so
The text, this.
the text amendment, so it would be the chart from 11.3-4 would be the first priority.
And I think the street bond is a pretty high priority.
What about, you want to get your on-call planning going? That's on the list too.
Oh, yeah, so why don't we do text amendment and on-call planning? And then the street issue.
Could we start hiring them for jobs since we're not technically hiring them on salary?
It would be, no, because you'd need to sign a contract with them.
So July 19th at 6:30, 7.
Doesn't matter to me, 6 is fine.
Let's set a date,
July 19th at 6.
6 o'clock.
You guys are ruining my day off.
Sorry.
So the first two.
Yes, so I mean, unless we're gonna tick off and we just, can you leave it that if we don't make it to, can we just do 6 to 8? And what we get done, we get done. And then we can set another date. I mean, I guess you can put all those items on them and if you're able to move.
I would put them all on there in case we have time or we move through anything quick.
Even if we
So
start,
just set the meeting from 6 to 8 and you'll get done what you can in 2 hours.
yes.
And if we don't finish, then we'll set another date.
Sounds good.
Department reports. Karen, you're up with the library.
We're doing really well. We're busy, just like everybody else in town. I think at the time I wrote your report, we were, just over 200 visitors per day, but now we're about 300 visitors per day. Our, planning programs, we have between 50 and 60 people, so that's really nice. We're just having those out front for the time being. I will have some questions for you about ARPA funding and a couple of projects. But my question for you tonight, I know it's not an agenda item, and I spoke with a couple of you about this, is expanding community broadband access.
Yeah.
So schools and libraries have an opportunity to apply for connectivity funding to expand Wi-Fi access to the community. The town already has a couple points at Lions Club and the other part. I'm wondering, I just kind of need your feeling on applying for some more money, either to expand that access. I'm planning to apply for some money just to expand it within a radius of the library. But also if you have any other wishes or wants for expanding access anywhere else, I'm happy to try to gain access to more funding.
Yeah, could we also expand to, so there's kind of a midpoint, because I know it's here, It's at the Comley Park, it's at Lionsville Park, the library, but maybe that, and I don't even know if the infrastructure is there or not to do it, that little park.
In the middle of town,
In the
next to
middle
the
of town.
gallery.
Yeah.
Next to the pharmacy, is that where?
Yeah, next to the pharmacy there. And I don't know, is there a way to, not that people need to be sitting in the park streaming movies, but like if they need to send out some emails or voice over internet phone calls or, you know.
Is it pretty slow?
I don't know, yeah, I guess I would.
Can we put one at the other pump house that we?
Conley has them.
Oh, the new one? Yeah. If we get a new one?
On first, no, oh, well, yeah, at the new one too, but.
There is at both pump houses.
Oh, there is, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, or maybe expanding it there. I don't know if that one is set up as a public spot.
I don't know either.
Oh,
I'll have to
yeah.
ask this question.
Those
Yeah.
might not be public.
Okay.
So, yeah.
And there's opportunity to upgrade too. I mean, and I just have to kind of put the pieces together.
I mean, would it be, and I know people probably go camping for a reason. I mean, it's not within town, so I don't know if it would apply, but at the fishing access.
I'm not sure. I'll check into that.
There's no power over there.
Or is there
Is there?
anything, or at the.
Yeah, there's gonna be power, huh?
There's no power over there, is there?
Yeah, probably not.
That's why we don't have an archway yet.
Yeah, okay.
But there's, so, you know, as always, there's attachments to these, there's data collection requirements for a number of years, but that's pretty easy. Yeah, easy workaround, which is right here, dating records. So, okay, and the park next to the pharmacy, and I'll just, do some looking for some other, maybe equipment upgrades and see what we can do. The window closes August 6th, which puts us before the next meeting, but I'd like to do it sooner than that.
Sure.
And even if a funding commitment is made, we don't have to use the money, so I just want to make that clear.
Okay, yeah, and I guess maybe weighing your options of, you know, is it higher speed or more bandwidth at those select sites?
Right.
I don't know what would be, or expanding to those
Yeah,
other sites. I don't know if.
I don't know either, and I'll have to look, and maybe there's a funding cap on equipment, but I'll try to put the pieces together and give you guys the information. Does that sound okay?
That sounds fantastic.
Thanks.
Okay, all right, thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Do you have any questions for me?
I have a personal / I have a public record question of what is at the library tomorrow. I heard something about rafters.
Thank you for asking. I completely blew over that. Yeah, so at 11 o'clock tomorrow, the Montana Raptor Conservation Center is bringing a program in for our summer reading program. And they always do a great job. And not last year, but the year before, they brought 6 raptors with them.
I was gonna say, they bring birds.
Yeah, so it'll be on the north side of the library, like not the Main Street lawn, but you know, the other, we're gonna kind of rope off the parking back there and gather back there.
So it's a little quieter for the.
Yeah, and hopefully that will work, but it should be really good.
They do.
Yeah, thank you for asking, Brittany.
Yeah.
We'll be there.
Karen, have you had any success with the project next door?
So this month, I put 0 energy into it, and that's my fault, we've been so busy.
Okay, no, that's fine, I just was wondering.
That's okay, no, I have a board meeting tomorrow, and I'm going to invite the property owner to speak with the board so we can work on some plans. And, yeah, and depending on what you want to hear, I can let you know what happens, or I can just, if there's any.
I keep trying, so.
No, thank you, I appreciate that. So we're just slowly, in the meantime, we're slowly making progress, you know, updating plans, trying to just figure out the best fit for us. Thanks for asking. Thanks, guys.
Thank you, Karen.
Thanks, Karen.
Okay. Police is up next. He submitted a written report, just reminding us of where pedestrians have their right of way and where not, and the speed sign information. So just for a synopsis, during the month of June, the law enforcement responded to 57 incidents or calls for service. The Ennis Police Department issued 13 citations, issued 68 warnings, 2 parking tickets, and fingerprinted 4 people. So, and it has the breakdown of if it was NSPD or Madison County Sheriff's Office. Any questions there? Comments?
I guess I can just send it to John, but our stretch from right in front of our shop, or all the way down to Madison Foods, because everybody's so happy about that left-hand turn, the sidewalk is now a racetrack. And we were pulling a vehicle out, we almost got tagged by somebody driving on the sidewalk then. My kids said the last week of school, they almost got hit on the sidewalk. That sidewalk has become a danger zone of danger zone. It's not the rumble strip, they are on one whole tire going all the way down. So it might need to be patrolled more.
At some point, obviously, we're gonna have to do a stop light or something there. Is that MDT's decision? Is that MDT's
Yeah,
thing?
that would be MDT. And then there's also, and I don't know if the comment period has closed. I don't know if you folks saw this. MDT put out that they're going to be resurfacing, and so there's public comment there. So if there's a way for you to make that public comment on MDT's site as well, but there's things that, and it's tricky right there. There was a compromise when those sidewalks went in. The business owners did not want a curb for easier maintenance. And so then that parlays into unintended consequences of, I see people park on it all the time too,
So they're pulled over for parking on it, but not for driving down it. And
yeah.
It's an issue.
Yeah, it totally is. And so we can maybe talk to MDT about maybe getting those concrete barriers, those yellow barriers, like a curb essentially, because there's, we can talk to MDT and see what we're allowed to put out there and just see if maybe they would do it too.
Ticketing would get the hand across real quick. I mean, we got big trucks out here, they'll just jump the curb.
It's a little bit.
Email John.
Yeah,
will you tell John that?
Will probably make a very big difference on it. Okay. It's not the locals that I'm saying, it's.
Because the locals know to go down to Clark Street and turn it down there.
I stay off that area.
Yeah. Okay, so it is, we do have one police officer that only work, we can certainly request him to patrol it a little bit longer, and then maybe for a backup.
When the school was having issues, I asked him, like, can you just, because they're not stopping at the crosswalk, and he was really great about getting them slowed down, and then I noticed a huge difference of them starting to slow down and not. So just a little bit of presence seems to go a long way with.
Exactly, shenanigans. Yeah, and
Maybe
maybe we can talk with MDT too on what else we can do there, because I don't know if they would allow planters or, or those little, what used to be or is it still there in front of the creamery?
Sugar High has like a curve.
Yeah, that type of thing.
It doesn't, that they drive all the way down. Like, that hasn't, they start.
But maybe if it started further back, or maybe not, maybe if it was painted, I don't know. We can talk with MDT and see what other options they can provide besides patrol.
I think they're paying off their taxes on the street. They should drive on the streets.
Yeah, I would totally agree.
I think MDT was doing a traffic study in that area.
They had lines set out to measure traffic.
Yeah.
A few months ago.
So they must be working on all that.
That could be that, or that could be
county.
No, for the subdivision, the preliminary subdivision proposed down there, because they were asked to do a traffic study too. So there could, but we can touch base with MDT. We will certainly mention to our one patrol officer. And if we can't get them, I know, because I had a friend say that they are working on the license plate, collecting all the license plates from what they see in just in 2 passes down Main Street. They got 30 out of 50 states. So getting a lot of visitors. So thank you for your comment. Any more on police department report? Okay. Public Works?
I won't get into the day-to-day stuff. You guys know what goes on there, and we've written it up several times, but obviously we've been doing a little studying on the ARPA money. I also put out the annual water quality report. It's in the Madisonian. There's copies out here if anybody wants to see it. It's all good, pretty boring, but it's all no problems. Start work on the Public Works budget, which there'll be no surprises. There'll be the same numbers or less than last year. So anyway, no surprises there. Also working on the road priorities. The two that'll definitely be done first will be this Comley Street approach and the Beaverhead Avenue approach. Other than that, a lot of monthly, quarterly, and yearly reports to EPA that just happens this time of year. So, any questions?
Hey, did you get your third guy?
What's that?
Did you get your hire, your
Yes.
third guy?
Yes, start Monday.
Good. Now we can start seeing things get done. It's too much for one man.
Yeah, no, it'll be
Way
good.
too much.
It'll be better.
You hired Kyle on too, didn't you?
Kyle's good.
Yeah, Kyle's a good player.
Yeah, he's doing real good.
He's a hard worker, yeah.
There's a pothole at town pump I'm hitting every day.
Great. Zoning, can we make a note that, like a zoning report especially? I don't know what
Something.
for us to do. So just so we have to know how many fences, how many single family homes, how many multi-family homes. So it would be really nice to have that. I know her predecessor didn't do it, which was unfortunate, but we just because there's a lot going on. So to have a recap of that would be great.
Or them coming occasionally.
James?
Thank you.
I'm sorry,
So,
James, I can't see
I
you.
know, that's why I'm just trying to get some attention. So, on the zoning thing, I had a little chat with Ginger here earlier, and maybe I should have, put my comment in before, but basically, it's like, you used to have a big map up on the wall there, with all the zoning districts laid out.
Yeah.
So, I think Ginger's gonna look for one of those and get that back up on the wall, which would be helpful to everybody. And then you should get, those large scale maps printed out for your 5 new members too, so that they can begin studying and understanding where all your different districts are.
Good. I think Tommy has been gracious enough to, the county to send us maps. Or we might be in the closet too. I think we had one of current and then one of proposed, so maybe the current one is there too. And I could look through and, because Mark Odegaard on the planning commission was a map guy, and I can see if we have a current map that it's really high resolution, so you can zoom in. Okay. Clerk, Ginger, you're up.
I just submitted my written, any questions?
Just for budget, I was wondering if we could get a printout of payroll. The last year, we never see any of payroll.
Last year? We're just at year end, so we're doing your.
We just don't see any payroll in the past.
Yeah, and maybe for the August budget, we do a budget recap.
For the August meeting?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean.
Feasible?
Oh, yes.
Okay, perfect, just to see where we ended up, where we're at.
I'm just making sure, I gotta make, it takes like almost the end of July to make sure the whole June's.
Oh, okay.
Is in.
Completed, gotcha.
Books.
Gotcha, that makes sense.
So why aren't we getting zoning reports?
Never have. Or never did it.
Why is there even department reports on here? Does the city council has to review the reports?
I think it's just to know what's going on in there in each department.
So it's not required?
I don't know. I would like it to be, I think it's maybe a mayor's preference since he's by charter.
And the department heads to come, they do, and they present.
And probably for a lot of times there wasn't anything to report, but now there probably is.
Well, that's what I thought, because it was transitioning from Art to Susie. But
I thought that we worked on a better job description and changed stuff. We didn't change any.
I don't know that it's complete.
Okay.
That's not one that I'm qualified to work on.
Can't you as a commission request that? That's a department head. ask for.
Yeah, we have.
We have. That's what's
So
frustrating.
it would be the mayor since they're the direct report. to the
Boss,
mayor.
they're not our employees. We're not allowed to reprimand or talk to that much.
Okay, anybody, any more comment, discussion on there?
Where are we at with litigation, Ginger? Did we ever hear back?
I don't think we're allowed to
Yes, no?
talk
Nothing?
about that.
Still
Yeah,
Pending.
still pending.
nothing?
Mayor report, did Blake submit any comments?
She did not.
Okay. My fellow commissioners?
Town's crazy.
Insane.
Anybody?
Close the gates.
I guess my comment is, and you'll see it posted, there is, Christian Terrell will be facilitating a public meeting July 14th. We're at 6 or 7 p.m.? 6 p.m.
I did share that.
It's
on
going to
my
be live streamed at the library and at the senior center. So if there are folks that want to participate in an in-person meeting and maybe have trouble with technology, the library and the folks at the senior center graciously allow them. They'll help them. I mean, it'll be streamed, and then if they have questions, they'll help facilitate their questions there. So we're still working through that process. So that's July 14th on that. My only other comment was I wanted to not only thank and commend the Chamber of Commerce for doing such a great job with the parade, but I would also like to make a shout out to our city employees that volunteered that day as well. Part of the parade is a big, obviously, a lot of moving parts and logistics and whatever. And sometimes I know the chamber had put a call out when they sign the permit, they have to say they're going to have X number of volunteers, and that maybe didn't work out this way. So, but our city employees stepped up and filled that role. And so I really
And the fire department.
And the fire department.
Yeah.
So I was on the other end, so I didn't maybe see everybody. But yeah, that our community came together for a fabulous event. They did a great job. It was the first time I got to watch it instead of being a participant, so that was a really neat perspective. Yeah, I thought they did a great job. So
On that note, can I back up?
Sure.
For just a moment. I know it's on my report, but I think it needs to be said verbally. A huge thank you to Karen Ketchum for the last couple of months for helping at the commission meetings by taking minutes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Karen. You're welcome. We achieve more when we work together. So thank you to all the community for a great event. It is busy. So yeah, just it's a happening time of year. So, but enjoy some of what our great state gets to offer as well. So I believe those are all my. Did you have any comments, Jason? Mr. Bancroft?
Nope.
Nope. Okay. So claims.
Move to approve.
Yes, you did. I'll second it.
Any discussion? Move to approve or call the vote. Sorry, Christie.
Aye.
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 Best part of the night, move to adjourn.
Second.
Call the vote.
Aye.
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 Meeting is adjourned. Thank you for coming.
Hot. So we didn't have anything on this? When is this? Next month?
I think it has to go to the planning board.
Oh, so we're just getting it because it's going, okay. He's just including us.
Yeah, it has to be, yeah.
So good. Every time, I just am impressed with them.
He didn't sign it.
Oh, I didn't sign it either. Here.
Jason didn't sign it. Thank you guys for helping clean up. Whoa. You all getting along, you know? Sorry, I'll shut my mouth. Probably never. Me either, so that's why I caught me by surprise. I even caught myself by surprise. Thank you. Bye, John. Glad to see you're driving again. Oh, I started trucking. Hey. Bye, guys. Thank you. Ginger called me out on not getting my packet last month. And it was 2 packets for this month.
Yeah. Thank you, Bob. Have a good one, Brittany.
Okay, guys, here we go. Yeah, I talked too much.